Hi folks, welcome back. I've had numerous requests to do a video on NASCAR because in case you didn't know it, in the last 2 years on television, NASCAR has lost about 30% of their viewers and they're going down. Now, the Cup Series, the big series, decided several years ago that under their television contracts, they were essentially going to put their whole series behind on 6 different networks that were all behind paywalls. So, in other words, you had to be paying a subscription to somebody to watch their series. And they put them on 6 different channels. They were all the same. You had to pay to watch. Now the Xfinity series, the first one down, the series just below the Cup Series, they put that on CW. I think it's all on CW, which you can watch with an antenna for free if you happen to be in one of the cities that has a CW, live close enough to the antenna to actually receive their weak signal. And their viewership is way down from what it used to be as well. But NASCAR decided that the average people who watched them from their television didn't really need to watch them because they wanted to get more money by putting them behind these paywalls. Well, those people who paid all that money are now having trouble with what they call return on investment, ROI. And they're not getting it. You know, some of those races are on the USA channel. Some of them are on TNT. I mean, what was NASCAR thinking? Well, they thought that they could retain most of those viewers even if they did that. Well, they thought wrong. Because a third of the viewers from the big Cup Series are gone. They're not watching, they're not interested. But over the years, NASCAR has done a series of fundamental flaws. They have like a 500 miles race. They even have one 600-mile race, some 400-mile races. Well, people like that format. But NASCAR wanted to quote unquote make it more competitive. So what they did was they broke the races up into 3 stages. 3 mini races, in other words, to group all the drivers back together. I got a noise in there. And to have 3 mini races rather than one big race. So when somebody got way out ahead, they could haul them back into the group, give the people pit stops to adjust their cars, you know, and supposedly make the race better to watch and quote unquote to be more fair. I don't see how that's more fair. And in actual fact, I think it hurt them. I don't like stage racing. There's a number of us out there who don't like stage racing. And then they went to a playoff. Now, I would have probably agreed with the playoff format, which I didn't really want, if the people who didn't make the playoffs weren't at the tracks, still racing in the race that the playoffs are. That makes no sense to me. If you're going to have a playoff, have a playoff. The people who are not in the playoffs don't get to race. It's only the playoff cars should be racing, not those that don't have any skin in the game. This makes no sense. And it kind of ruined the whole thing for a lot of people, because you have non-playoff cars taking out cars by crashing with cars that are in the playoff, number one. Number two, having cars that are not in the playoffs actually win the race. That kind of takes the competitiveness out of the playoffs, in my view. So there's been a number of problems, and then you got the TV thing adding on top of it. Okay? They've made a lot of these changes. And then there's the cars. Now, NASCAR is the National Association of Stock Car Racing. Now, in NASCAR, none of these cars are stock cars. They don't have engines anymore out of production cars. They're not production frames. The reason why they can go so fast is because they're not a NASCAR. They're not a stock car. And they've put all these rules in there to force all the cars basically to be equal. And do you think that Chevy has a Chevy engine in that Chevy car that's not a Chevy car? No. Same thing with Ford and Toyota. They're not their frames, they're not their cars, they're not their engines, they're not their rear ends. They have cars driving in there that are front wheel drive, but in NASCAR they're all rear wheel drive. Okay? This whole thing doesn't make any sense. And people started figuring this all out. And then there was the rules applied one way to one driver and rules applied another way to another driver. And it just goes on and on and on. NASCAR, everywhere you look at it, has created problems for themselves. They have not been smart about any of it. And it kind of ruined it for NASCAR, because it made it a lot like, IndyCar and Formula One. Well, NASCAR, the reason why people loved it is because it wasn't IndyCar or Formula One or any other kind of racing. It was unique. Back when I was a kid, they used to run stock cars, with the doors welded shut and the glass replaced and stuff like this, but they had to run the block that came with a car and all these things, which is no more. It's not stock car racing. The name leads you to believe otherwise, but it's not. There's no part on that car that's stock. None. So now they do the TV deals where a big segment of the people who love stock car can't watch or won't watch. They're not going to pay to watch all those different channels that have stock car on them. So stock cars put themselves in a bad way, and the number of people actually following NASCAR's went down by about 30% in 2 years. I see it going down a lot further because we got 6 more years of the current TV deal. They won't fix the stuff with the stage racing and the playoffs. They won't go back to racing stock cars, that's for sure. Even though I believe they should, I know they won't. So I see their viewership and the people who are watching it continue to dwindle and dwindle and dwindle. And the money they're getting is going to go. And I don't think they'll do anything till they don't have the money to fund the teams anymore. Or they can't fund the teams like they traditionally have been. And that'll be where the whole thing ends. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.